Hello there folks, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics like spirituality and introspection. And this time it's gonna be another video which I call Wisdom Shorts, regarding a topic named expectation. Now, I probably spoke about expectations before, but this is just another little idea. Now, the point about expectation is more like, I wanted to say, fears, because a point came into my mind and I thought about one thing, okay, that is kind of controversial nowadays. And that thing is basically fetishes, okay. So the point is, many people, especially the older generations, kind of have this fear, okay, of fetishes and such, because they work and live on a principle called overprotectiveness. When they are overprotective of their children, they will usually do a lot of things to try to prevent them from getting in touch with certain things, okay? And they kind of expect themselves to achieve that, okay? So the point about expectation, okay? Now, expectation usually stems from a certain fear, okay? Not always may be the case, but usually it stems from a certain fear. Okay, and I've seen this in certain parents that they don't want their children to spend time on the internet because they might end up looking at inappropriate things. But they kind of live a bit too inhibited in their own mind, because they themselves, okay, forget that when they were young they would also watch sexuality and such, and well, 60 to 70% of internet can be called, well, not necessarily pornographic, but you know, um, sexual, or at least arousing, okay, with a tendency towards sexuality. Now, again, people forget that whatever you see is just images and whatever you hear is just sounds. So the point is, well, you have to take these into account as well. Okay, so when a fear comes that your children might experience something bad, okay, or might come across something that may be what you call inappropriate for them, well, that comes as an expectation, because you cannot fear something without expecting it to be real, okay? And expectation means acceptance, because you're expecting something to actually happen, okay? Again, it is a fear, and in this case, the fear and the expectation are quite synonymous, because you fear that something will happen to your children, you invest emotionally into that, so it's like you are begging the universe for that to happen, and at the same time you are reacting against it, okay, because you are having an expectation your children not to, you're triggering your overprotectiveness, and as you do, okay, um, well, you're gonna trigger a lot of emotional baggage, okay, because you're gonna say you're not good enough, especially if you fail, okay, and let's say you catch your children experiencing that, or there's one of those romantic scenes in a movie and you don't want your children to see that, okay, that's an expectation. You don't want your children to see that because you say it's inappropriate, but the expectation comes from the fact that you haven't experienced that enough and you wouldn't want your children to experience more than you. It is kind of a, you know, little narcissistic approach, I can say, but again, it's a fear that your children might experience something that you haven't experienced, or you consider yourself not worthy, so therefore your child may get hurt, okay, because what you consider yourself as not worthy of experiencing, in your mind, it's nothing else than dangerous, okay, because something that you can't experience, something that you're not allowed to experience, okay, from a survival standpoint, is manifested as dangerous, okay. So anything that you haven't been allowed to experience, or you haven't allowed yourself to experience, okay, is manifested in a way as dangerous, okay, to the to the reptilian brain, to the survival aspect. So the point is, there comes an expectation that you will protect more or less the others, okay. Now this is a twisted protection in a way, because you're preventing people from experiencing certain things, okay, because everyone, especially at a certain age, has to experience through things like this, okay, seeing sexuality, and the more you inhibit yourself, the more of this impact you will put on the next generations, okay. And in time, this self-inhibition, okay, towards sexuality, towards so many things and building up this guilt and this shame, okay, this will be stronger and stronger in the following generations, and therefore that is also one reason why the resistance will always be greater, because every part that you manifest in a certain direction is equalized by the shadow, okay, the shadow uh, which houses the opposite reaction. Okay, so if you're running away from something, okay, there will always be your shadow, which most people may not be aware of, and that shadow will always manifest the same strength but in the opposite direction, okay, because ultimately everything would basically negate itself. So the point is, that is why healing occurs by integrating the shadow, because the shadow refers to the other extreme, okay, the other side, okay, and both of them simply negate one another. It's a process that may take even lifetimes in some situations, or it can take I don't know, several hours or days, depending on the power of the people that can also help. But that is one point. Okay, so expectation is basically a trigger. Okay, it is a reaction that stems from multiple, you know, emotional boundaries, emotional luggage that you have within yourself, and this can actually be very detrimental to yourself. Okay, so first of all, there is an event to which you react with a fear, that is false evidence appearing real, and then, well, you trigger the expectations, because when you fear something, that's basically an expectation. You expect that to happen in your life, and that is why you're already reacting to it. So basically, you're kind of making the necessary preparations, okay, in case that would happen. But it's just in case, okay? It's not necessary that it will actually happen. Okay, so all this being said, you are loved and appreciated. Take care of yourselves. Hopefully, this little introspective um, video gave you a bit of a hint, even if it was a bit all over, but I just received a hint to, create it, so I just followed the flow of what was sent towards me. All this being said, you are loved and appreciated. Take care. Ferenc Born, signing out.